Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Will You Be My Friend podcast. Today we have Eva Friedman on, incredible drummer. She's so good. She plays in like 13 bands all over Los Angeles. And we had so much fun talking on the podcast that we just, after the podcast was over, we just talked for like another hour. It was a really great time hanging out. So yeah, she's amazing. If you need a drummer, give her a call. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Eva. My friend Eva, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am losing my mind.
Okay.
are,
I thought we might take a little while to get to that confession, but yeah, it's starting to settle in for sure.
are are you also losing your mind?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I've been like trying to find a good balance between like this sucks and it's
Uh,
terrible and it's scary and also like just like feeling hopeful and stuff, but like acknowledging and like leaving space for like how shitty of a situation it is. So just trying to like manage myself through it has been more exhausting than
mm.
anything. So what about you? Where's your head at?
Well, to speak truthfully, I'm actually feeling better. Um,
Yeah.
like maybe 3 or 4 days ago, I had 3 days where I was like freaking out a good amount. And for me, like I'm parsing through there's a certain amount that I should freak out about the actual sickness.
Right.
And then there's an amount that I should freak out about our society's reaction to the sickness.
Yeah.
And like processing those two things and understanding those two things. But yeah, the past like 2 or 3 days, I've been feeling more hopeful, like feeling like this is a time to work on like skills and like start this podcast
Yeah.
and to like look inward. And like I went to the grocery store today and I ended up talking to someone in line for the grocery store, and we kept a safe 6 feet distance. But we were just talking about how like on the one hand, it's nice that the city has slowed down so much, and maybe there can be like positive things about people's lives slowing down and taking the time to reflect. Even though like economically and like health wise, this is going to be devastating for like a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the big one.
yeah. It's wild and it's unprecedented. So like talk me through your past like 9 days, 14 days. Were
Yeah.
you were you taking the coronavirus seriously like 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I've been taking it pretty seriously for a while. I am an admitted and acknowledged germaphobe.
Hmm.
I have a hard time with like sickness and everything, and like when I get sick, I freak out. If people around me are sick, I get very nervous and everything. So this has been like a worst nightmare scenario.
Oh my God.
So like yeah, so like for the past couple of weeks I've been like just kind of like thinking everything over and like trying to, do the research and like get the knowledge that I needed. And like when it came, I had some big shows like coming up and like there was potential for South by Southwest and stuff. So it
Yeah.
was a lot of like, okay, I need to do whatever I can to keep myself safe as well as anyone that I come into contact with. And so I was having a lot of discussions with people of like, might not hug you, like might not even be down for a fist bump. I might walk into these rehearsal spaces wearing gloves. If it's too much, we can all make fun of me and laugh about it after. But for now, like I get that this is my job, and if the shows are going on, I will be there. But it definitely started to get to a point where it was kind of like, okay, if none of us put our foot down, are we then complicit, in like asking people to come out and gather in big numbers? So there was definitely like a moral and ethical like conundrum going on in my head, and then everything got canceled anyway. So it was nice to feel like that decision got taken out of my hands. Because
Totally.
for anyone watching or listening that doesn't know, I'm a drummer and I'm
Right.
like freelance and like hired gun session stuff. So like none of the projects I'm in are my band. So it's never really like my decision.
Mm.
And all the people that I work with are really good about like everyone being treated equally, and like everyone, if anyone has concerns, those can be voiced and everything. But it's not my call to make to cancel a rehearsal or to cancel a show or whatever. Um, and so I was really lucky that everyone that I work with that had stuff going on was treating it seriously and keeping an eye on things. But I think I hit the panic button a little bit earlier than some other people, just because of who I am as a person. So yeah, it was rough to have like the plug pulled on everything, and I'm definitely falling victim to like looking at the clock and the calendar and being like, oh, I was supposed to be here, or like I was supposed to be doing this today right now and stuff. But I would say like I pretty quickly, got into the mindset of like, I think this is gonna be, a huge deal.
Yeah.
So I wasn't like particularly surprised by like all the self-isolation
Mm.
that we've been like being asked to do and everything. And it's hard to argue with. It's like read it, like so many young people are like, well, if I get it, I get it. First of all, young people, as if I'm like 70. But like, seeing like the footage from like spring break and stuff, and kids saying like, well, if I get corona, I get corona. And I'm like, this doesn't sound like a party. Like, it doesn't sound like a walk in the park.
Mm.
So first of all, think about everyone around you. But second of all, like, I don't want it either.
Totally.
Like that's like it's just so funny to me that people are like, well, if I get it, I get it. And I'm like, this is not fun. Like, this doesn't sound great. Like, this isn't the common cold. So the past I've been isolate or socially distancing, self quarantine, whatever the technical term is, for about a week now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of day 7 for me, I guess. So I've got like my practice pad so that I can be like working on my hands and stuff and trying to work on some other like musical like production skills that I've been wanting to get into. So trying to stay productive, but also trying to like again like balance being aware of what's going on with not like flooding my senses with it and just like giving in to being terrified.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, so my disposition is to be largely uninformed
Mm-hmm.
because I've gone through seasons of my life where I've like listened to a lot of NPR, I've read a lot of news, and I'm like a very sensitive individual. Like it affects me a lot to be worried about like all of these like foreign policies
Right.
that at the end of the day, like I can't really do anything about it unless it's voting season, and then I can vote about it. But like if it's not voting season, I'm kind of at the point where I'd just rather not know about things that don't affect me. So I was surprised by the whole corona thing, like how big it has gotten. This year was going to be the first year that I was going to go play at South by Southwest.
Same.
So I was like stoked to like go and hang and like planning everything out. And then I was like skateboarding with a buddy, and I got the text message from the band like, "Hey, it's canceled," and I was blown away.
Yeah.
But that was also the first moment that I started taking it seriously. Like, oh, like this could affect my friends and family in my life. And obviously, like, so that was like 8 days ago, 9 days ago, something. It's gotten much more serious.
Yeah, it feels like it just like kicked into overdrive. Like
Yeah,
out of nowhere, like everything started moving so fast.
yeah,
So
yeah. For us, it's like our daily life, for everyone in Los Angeles, like our daily life has completely changed in the matter of like, it was like 4 days.
yeah, it was like as soon as the NBA
Yeah,
suspended the season, like that like woke everyone up all of a sudden.
yeah.
So
Crazy.
Yeah, it's still so hard to like wrap my head around.
Yeah, yeah,
Feels
same.
feels like it's starting to like settle in now that it's been like a week.
Uh,
But it's definitely still like very surreal.
yeah, I think one of the comforting things that I felt is that like the whole world is kind of experiencing
Same.
this same thing. Like it's not just one city or like one country.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I mean, not to be like super pessimistic, but I'm like, I'm surprised that people aren't like rioting or something, or like crazy shit isn't going on right now.
Yeah, it seems like people like for the most part, and I say this cautiously, and also knowing that today is what is today? It's March 21st. By the time this comes out, who knows what's changed. But
Serious.
as of March 21st, there's I would be impressed if we ever hit 100% of Americans like taking this super seriously
Hmm.
and like everyone being on the same page. But it seems to me, as far as like people I know and like what I'm seeing and reading, it seems like most people are like doing the right thing and taking the necessary steps.
Totally.
So hopefully, enough people are doing what they should be doing that, we can charge through it.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be real good.
Yeah.
The other thing I've been thinking about though is like if we flatten the curve, which
Mhm.
is like a great thing to do for like the health of individuals and for the stability of our healthcare system. But if we flatten the curve, that's also going to make the season of like corona much longer
Mhm.
than it would. It's like how long do you think this self quarantine thing might last?
I have no clue. I have no clue. I'm trying hard not to start like thinking about it and like trying to pinpoint a date. Like I know like I was supposed to be at the Troubadour on Friday night with a shameless plug, but with a great band called Babers.
Hell yeah.
That got rescheduled for August 1st.
Oh
And
wow.
like, well, yeah, and like that feels far away, but it's like, is it?
Exactly.
Like it's like is that because I was supposed to have another gig on February April 3rd,
Mm.
um, and that we're like working on finding the new date for, and it's like, well, is May like too soon? Like they're like it's so hard to quantify time right now. So like I have no clue. I have no like best guess for when it's going to end. Like I would love to feel very strongly that by August, we're able to be like having shows and like out and about and everything, but I just have no idea.
Yeah, my fear is that like venues and large like places where a large amount of people will gather will probably be the last things to open up again.
Absolutely, and it's like I think I don't know how like you feel about it and everything, but I know for me like playing in like the smaller venues, like sometimes you look out and it's like it doesn't like even if you pack the room out, sometimes it doesn't always feel like there's a lot of people there depending on where you're playing.
Mhm.
And this has been an interesting exercise in like reframing what a lot of people is
Totally.
because like even like I think Hotel Cafe was one of the last venues to shut down.
Oh wow.
And even that it's like you can kind of get a lot of people into Hotel Cafe.
Totally.
Can you or can you not? Like it's so that's been interesting to say like even if like so if the satellite is like half full,
Mm.
that's still plenty of people when you're talking about, a virus and a pandemic. So it's interesting because I think like a lot of people would think like, oh well, like the smaller LA venues and like the smaller venues, I'm sure will like open quickly.
Mm.
And it's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. Just also so that like these venues can stick around. Like it would be so detrimental if any of these venues shut down. because
it's going to be really sad if we start losing like really crucial, incredible businesses to this.
yes.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll be able to open venues again at like 1/10 of the capacity and like enforce social distancing at
And
the show.
slowly build it up.
So then like the satellite, like to pack it out, like you need like 40 people and the whole
I
place.
would getting the shit end of the stick of getting scheduled for earlier once we're all out back in, and it's like, cool, so you can play the satellite but you can only have 5 people. Like, that would suck.
And it can only be like duo bands because you can't have more than 2 people on stage.
Right. Oh man, the reality, like that's another interesting point, like the reality of reintegration is
Yeah.
really interesting to me. Like, are we all gonna just like jump off our balconies like looking for human contact, or is everyone gonna be like kind of like skittish for a while?
That's the thing. So I'm an avid runner. I love running. And so I've been running all more or less every day
Yeah.
during all of this stuff. And a couple days ago, people were really like they'd like stop and they'd step away and they wouldn't smile. But today and yesterday, people are more like smiley and wavy and saying hello, but like still keeping the social distance.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that like things go back to being friendly. Not that Los Angeles is the friendliest city in the world, but but yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that society will return to working order.
Yeah, it's still just so surreal. That's always what like I keep coming back to with anyone that I've talked about it with. Like eventually I just land on the point of like I feel like I've talked myself in circles. This is just weird. Like at the end of the day, it's just really strange.
It's unprecedented,
100%.
and the we will never be the same. Our cities will never be the same. Our world will never be the same after this.
Yeah.
It's the first modern plague, and I think it's going to change a lot of people's priorities.
Well, I just think about like anyone who's like having kids now or in the future, like their kids are probably going to be like, my parents always keep like 4 packs of toilet paper and, you know, a box of masks and a box of like latex gloves and 3 containers of Clorox wipes. And I don't get it. Like the way that like we talk about like, oh, like my parents always just have a drawer filled with like old plastic bags. And why do we do that? Like they're like we just do it. And I feel like that's gonna be what like kids who are raised by people who were like adults through this are going to be like, we just keep so much stuff.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's made me want to keep like a week of food or 2 weeks of food, which is not something I was ever interested in before.
Mm-hmm.
Like canned food or something, or rice or whatever. Because so like Wednesdays and Thursdays are my heavy teaching days.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was last Friday morning. So yeah, like 8 days ago, I went to the grocery store after like teaching, and because Friday is like my Saturday, I guess.
Right.
And I went to 4 different grocery stores, and all I wanted was onions and eggs. And there weren't any onions or eggs in any of the 4 grocery stores. And I just like that. I don't know. It really started sinking in.
It's interesting the stuff that people aren't touching. Like
Yeah.
like when I went before like all of the panic really set in, but like people were starting to like hoard stuff. And when I went last week, like people weren't really touching Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
Like, that feels like such a no-brainer to me to grab like a few boxes of Pop-Tarts. It just feels like they're like you can warm them up, you can eat them room temperature, have them any time of day. and they're not gonna perish.
Yeah, those things will last for years and years and years.
Yeah, like I remember, like I'm from New Jersey originally, and I feel like anytime like we knew like a snowstorm was coming, like Pop Tarts was like something that I could always depend on us having.
Mm,
So like I just feel like that I was very surprised that like Pop Tarts weren't just gone.
yeah.
I mean, I was grateful for it, but I was surprised.
Does this quarantine feel like a snowstorm to you at all?
You know, people keep saying like this isn't a snow day and everything, and people are
Mm.
like, this isn't just like, a fun day off or whatever. And so I've been thinking about that. And I think the difference for me is that with like a snow day, like I knew that like normalcy would return like in the very near future, like within a day or whatever. So I think this feels a little different because even like you could go out and play in the snow. And like while I could definitely go take a walk and stuff, it's definitely still like, okay, but like, do I need to do it? If I don't need to do it, maybe I'll just stay put. Like there's a different, like going outside feels very different than it would. So I think it feels like, I don't think it quite feels like a snow day. I wish it felt like a snow day, but
Yeah, I've never experienced a snow day. I'm like California born and raised,
oh.
so I don't know what that's like.
So you never did the whole like pajamas inside out and backwards thing?
Inside and out and backwards? What does that
Yeah,
mean?
you've never heard of that? So
No.
that's like what you would do, what we would do as kids to like try and get it to snow.
That's
You put on your pajamas inside out and backwards, and ideally like you wake up and there's enough snow that like school is canceled.
that's so cute.
I didn't realize how strange it was until I said it to someone who had never heard of it.
Yeah, I've definitely never heard of it before.
Yeah, that I would love to know where that came from. And then the other like similarly, the other thing that New Jersey has that no one else has is like Mischief Night.
Mm.
And this is taking things in a totally different direction,
You're
but
good.
the night before Halloween,
Mm.
like it's like Mischief Night and the teenagers go out in like egg houses and like TP front lawns and everything. But like it's only in New Jersey.
Oh,
So
like
like I didn't know that, and most people from New Jersey don't realize that. So like we would go like out into the rest of the world and be like, "Oh, it's Mischief Night," and everyone's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And it's just like this weird, bizarre thing that only happens in our state.
that's crazy. I've never heard of Mischief Night. I mean, when I was in high school,
Yeah,
we used to like TP our friends' houses and stuff.
yeah.
But it wasn't like a statewide organized out
No,
of
it's weird,
front.
and like I don't know how much like people still participate in it, but like it was definitely a thing. Like you would drive around the next day and like see toilet paper all over someone's house or whatever, and it would be like, well, it was Mischief Night.
Was it a fun thing or was it a malicious thing?
I think it depends on who you ask.
Uh,
I never did it. Like I never took part in it, and I have an older sister, and she didn't either. She's even like nicer than I am. So like she never took part in it. I never took part in it. And like we also, so like I grew up just like on a house on a main road. So like neighbors were like spread out pretty far apart and everything. So like I didn't really live in a development. So I think I would have seen more of it if I lived in a development. Like we never really got affected, but like I think it was like much of Halloween stuff, like fun for kids but annoying for adults to
yeah.
some degree. So like I I would really be curious to know like how intense it still is, but it was definitely like a thing. Like I remember being like, oh, like you try to get home a little early
Hmm.
to like avoid mischief night and stuff.
Wild.
It's strange state.
Kids and their traditions.
It's there's just nothing to do in New Jersey.
Huh.
That's got to be why it happens. I think that's why anything happens in New Jersey. I think it's all born out of there being nothing to do.
Is it just like a lot of suburbia?
So there's like a lot of like rural and farm areas, and then there are some like more like city type places and everything, but like for the most, like where I grew up, it's like dead center middle of the state.
Mm.
And it's like much more like farmland and stuff. Like to get to, like my town was so small that like we don't actually have like a fire department or a police department. If something
What?
happened, like New Jersey sheriff comes through, and
Whoa.
yeah, and like we have like volunteer firefighters and EMTs.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it's like 15 minutes bare minimum to get into like to get to a grocery store or like the mall and stuff. So it's
Whoa.
like a little like deader and on the smaller side. It's like I always joke it's like you go bowling, you play music, you do drugs. Like
Oh,
you pick your categories there or you fuck around at the mall. But like for the most part you kind of land with something in there and everything.
were like sports an option?
So yeah, because there's like the only so there was let me see what was there. So for a while the Nets were technically a New Jersey team.
Okay.
The Devils, like for
Yeah.
hockey, still a
Hockey.
New Jersey team, of course. Um, and then the Jets, like football,
Uh,
were the New Jersey Jets
yeah.
because MetLife, or what used to be the Meadowlands, that's actually in New Jersey, like where the Jets and the Giants play.
Oh
And then
wow.
they decided that both of them were going to be New York. They moved the Nets to Brooklyn, and then the Devils are still there. But then we also had for MLS, like Major League Soccer, we had the Metro Stars,
Nice.
which is the most incredible name for any sports franchise ever. But so we had Metro Stars, but then I believe I'm not sure if like technically the team folded or if they're the organization that became the New York Red Bulls. But like pretty much you have the Devils and then you have New Jersey Sky Blue, which is the NWSL, the women's soccer team.
Mm,
So that's all there is for like pro sports
mm,
in New Jersey and everything. But like you still have like playing in school and everything, and then there's like Rutgers there, so
mm.
a lot of like Rutgers fans. But mostly you get like the top half of the state is divided up between all the New York sports, and then the lower half goes to Philadelphia.
Interesting. No,
Yeah.
yeah, the most of the stories I've heard about New Jersey
Hmm.
is like people who live in New Jersey but then spend most of their time in New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like this weird thing where like you're especially where I was being like so specifically in the center, it's like you're halfway between New York and Philadelphia. So
Wild.
you're just like looking right outside of like stuff and
Hmm.
knowing that like things happen somewhere else.
Mm.
And there's kind of this whole attitude of like anytime like someone else says New Jersey sucks, it's like no, New Jersey's great and everything. And then you get a group of people from New Jersey together and we're all like New Jersey sucks. So it's like we're all like weirdly defensive of this state that like most of us don't particularly love.
Yeah.
I'm so nervous now that like a bunch of people from New Jersey are gonna find this and be like, "You're a traitor! Like, shut your mouth." I just like started sweating with like, what if I get like banned from ever coming back to New Jersey? Um, but yeah, it feels very, and especially like growing up as a musician, like it feels very like staring out a window at all
Yeah.
of the action.
Wild.
Yeah, it's a strange place.
Yeah, tell me about your early experiences with music.
So I like from day one, like I always remember just loving music. And
Mm.
even like I know my mom would say like we would be listening to the radio and it would be a song I had never heard. And by the time like the second chorus came around, I would be singing the chorus. Like
Mm.
I would remember like the words or be like humming the melody and stuff. Um, so the anyone who knows this story who's watching this is gonna hate me because they've heard it a million times. But so like fifth grade was the year that you finally got to join the school band.
Okay.
So I was like stoked. I was like, this is my time to shine. And we were at a family barbecue at my uncle's house. And everyone was like, well, what are you going to play? Like, what instrument are you going to pick? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I didn't even get that far. I was just like, I'm going to get any instrument. And so my uncle was like, well, your cousin used to play trumpet, but he doesn't play anymore. you can just have his trumpet if you do trumpet. And I was like, I play trumpet now. This is my life's passion. And so within 8 weeks of lessons, like at the school, it was just not working. And like we had 2 dogs at the time who would lose their minds anytime I would try and practice. And then the minute I would stop playing, like they were totally calm and chill. Like a switch had flipped. And so, like, I was working so hard, like I was practicing every day. So the band teacher calls my mom and is like, so this isn't working. And my mom was like, she works so hard though. She's practicing every day. And my teacher was like, we know, and like that's the problem. Like she's putting in the work and we know she's doing the work, but it's just not happening. So my mom was like, what do we do? And Mrs. Gwen Parker said, if you trust me, I have an idea. I would like to try her on the drums. And so it's been that ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
So was it drum set at that point, or was it snare drum?
So it was all snare drum at that point. I remember the lesson periods were like 40 minutes or however long like a class period is in middle school. And I remember I wish I had like better memory of like the lead up to it, of like what I had been told was going to happen. But I remember going in and it was just like a catch up lesson, like to see if it was going to work with her. And I remember she would say like, okay, so this is, a flam. And I would do it and she would say, great, and turn the page. And we blew through the 8 weeks in that one period.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was like so meant to be.
Yeah.
I have no clue what she saw that like led her to knowing that that was the right move, but I mean, total walk-off grand slam, like just nailed it.
So interesting.
Yeah, and it's so incredible. And I think all the time about like, what if it was a different teacher who like maybe didn't really care about their job that much anymore, like, and was just like, this kid sucks, can't be in band. Or someone who like let me continue trying to do the trumpet and be like the laughing stock of the school band or whatever. So at that point, like 5th grade, it was all like just like symphonic band essentially. So like it was a snare drum or bass drum or like doing like a suspended cymbal roll, tambourine, triangle, whatever. And then the next year, so the way that like our school did it, it was 5th grade band, which was like beginner band, and then 6th grade band, and then 7th and 8th graders were in wind ensemble. And 7th and 8th graders had the opportunity to audition for jazz band. So 6th grade was like 6th grade band, more of the same. And like we all, like they started introducing drum set to us. And at that point I was like, I don't really want to do this. Like, I really just want to do like classical percussion or whatever. Like, I really had it in my head of like, I will be a classical percussionist. Like, I will be in symphonies and orchestras. And like, I don't really know. And like, because people would always ask, like, so drum set? And I was like, no, absolutely not. Like, I just really like got invested in this idea of being like a classical musician. And then they started introducing drum set to us. And I was like, oh, this is kind of awesome. And so in 6th grade, parents got me a drum set, and that same teacher reached out to my parents and was like, I think you should really consider private instruction for her. So started doing that. So then 7th grade, made jazz band as a 7th grader.
Cool.
Which was like, well, and they only took like 2, at most 3 drummers for that. So it was like a pretty big deal to get into it as a 7th grader. Like it was kind of like considered like the 8th graders territory.
Totally.
So it was like, it was really cool, and it was a nice like confidence booster to get into that. So that's like the first 4 years of, my musical journey and everything.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's a wacky story.
It makes sense. It's funny. My second instrument is also my main instrument.
Really?
So we have that in common.
I love that. What was your first instrument?
I started on the drums.
No way.
I did, and I
Wow.
loved it. I
Yeah.
absolutely loved it. I had this teacher who walked with a limp, and I thought he was so cool because he is cool.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ken.
I love
But
it.
basically I wasn't practicing, and my parents were like, "Fuck this! If you're not gonna practice, we're not gonna pay for your lessons."
Yeah.
So,
So
but my dad's a really good guitar player. So I was like, Dad, like teach me how to play guitar. And he taught me how to play Pipeline, which is this like surf rock tune. And then he taught me how to play Blackbird by the Beatles. And it was like all over from
that's
then
amazing.
on out. Yeah.
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 That's great. Yeah. Neither of my parents are musical.
Mm.
So like that's super cool that like it was kind of passed down from your dad and everything.
Totally. Yeah. It's cool. Like we'll still play sometimes, and it's really fulfilling to play music with my dad. I don't know, it's a special thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it sounds nice. Like my dad, he and my mom apparently like to prep for their wedding took like a dance class, and it was so bad with my dad that the dance instructor was like, I think you should just like sit off to the side and watch. Like my dad just has absolutely no rhythm.
Oh man.
Yeah. So like it's very funny that like I ended up being a drummer
Totally.
because he like cannot clap to find the beat, like to save his life.
Yeah, it's funny. I have a student right now where I'm working on her for that exact thing, is
Uh-huh.
to like hear the song and clap along with it, because
Yeah.
we're learning a Sufjan Stevens song
Great
that,
taste.
oh yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
um that like doesn't have like a drum track, so it's difficult to hear the beat and to play
Yeah.
along with it. So I have her clapping along on these different tracks that do have drum beats,
Mhm.
and she's picking it up. She's
Yeah.
getting it. Yeah, it's wild to have. Well, I was gonna say it's wild to have students that seem like they can't keep with the beat, or they can't like sing on pitch or something. And I've had some successes with like people that you might write off as not being able to do something, and
Yeah.
just like slowly but surely
That's
they'll come
great.
around to it. Yeah.
That's the best. Yeah. And like I think it's good on like a human level to have
Mhm.
this thing that like you want to do but are really struggling with, and then to like find a way to like hurdle over that.
Yeah, 100%. I'm trying to think about the last time that happened to me,
Ooh.
and I can't think. I think maybe like I just I'm like, all my life I've been trying to figure out how to not overeat. My whole life.
Yeah.
And I've tried so many different options. So I think that's the thing that I'm working on right now.
This is a good time for that.
Oh, 100%. Because
Yeah.
like I just get to like lock down and focus and figure it all out.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what the last like big hurdle was for me as well. Um, I think like getting more acclimated to the business side
Uh,
of what we do and feeling comfortable being like, hey, this is my rate. Like,
totally.
no, I will not do this for this, or like stuff like that. And like kind of like putting my foot down, standing up for myself. Like, one of the things that I was saying when all of the like coronavirus stuff first happened, and when like everyone was having conversations of like, hey, like do we cancel this rehearsal, do we cancel this gig or whatever, was like, so like as a session musician, like I'm my own business.
Mm,
So like I'm the CEO, I am the board of directors, I am all of the hourly workers,
totally.
I'm all of that. So it's like having to wear like all those hats and everything doesn't necessarily come natural to me. And like so like the importance of like advocating for myself and feeling willing to say like, no, I'm not comfortable with this situation,
Mm.
you know, for X, Y, and Z. And obviously it's all, you know, within reason. But I think like the standing up for myself in like professional settings has been like a nice hurdle to feel like I've, you know, gotten a little bit over and started to make progress with. Yeah.
I love to hear that. What, like, how has the response been? Like when you have stood up for yourself?
Um, I think a lot of, I think some people were a little bit surprised. I'm trying to think of like some of the clearer examples in my head. I know that most of my friends are very happy to hear
Oh
that
yeah.
I'm like kind of standing up for myself a little bit more.
Oh yeah.
And I think I've gotten a lot of empathy from people that like I am learning how to do this.
Mm.
So it doesn't always come out perfectly. And I try to be pretty good about circling back and being like, hey, I think that tone was not what I was going for. So just in case, you know, this is what I was trying to get at, I'm sorry. And like, you know, really owning that it's like a learning process and everything. But it's been really good when I've gotten like success with it.
Yeah.
Because it's tough to know when to put your foot down and when not to, and like especially like musically speaking, it's like none of these are my songs. So like if I'm gonna fight for something, I need to be really sure, and I need to feel 100% that like it's worth it. Like not even just that I'm right, but that like it's worth arguing over. Um, but I think it's been interesting, and I was curious to see how it was going to continue to carry over through the year. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can all get back to, you know, our stuff soon. But it's been good.
100%. That's really dope. I hope it's also like illuminating for you, like the people that actually value your
Absolutely.
time and skills,
Yeah.
and the people that don't actually value you.
100%. It's been like a couple of weeks or a couple of months, if I'm being honest, of learning like, okay, who knows me as well as I thought they did?
Mm.
Who is as collaborative as they say they are? Who has a clear picture of who has the clearest picture of what they want compared to like what they're saying they have? Like who really knows what they want?
Yeah.
And like just continuing to like, but it's also been like navigating with people like, okay, maybe that wasn't the right approach with this person,
Mm.
like, and kind of navigating all of that and finding like, okay, how do we all talk to each other in a way where it's very clear that like we all want what's best for each other, or in a musical sense like what's best for the song. Like how do we all make sure that it's very clear that that's the heart of the issue, and that like we're all just trying to make, you know, the art be as great as it can be.
100%. It's so strange with music because on the one hand, it is this business, and then we should like treat ourselves like CEOs, exactly like what you're saying. But on the other hand, it's so much stuff is based off of friendship.
Yeah.
Because like at the end of the day, when someone's deciding who they want to take on tour with them, like their knee-jerk reaction is like, well, like who do I get along with? Like who are my friends that I want to take out or take into the studio or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right going about it on like a case by case basis.
Yeah.
And it's okay to treat all of those relationships as unique because they are totally unique.
Yeah, and like it's been really hard for me to make room for like music as a business,
Mm.
just because like I do feel so strongly like I don't think finances should hold someone back from being able to make their art and say what they need to say. But at the same time, like self fulfillment doesn't pay the bills for any of us.
Totally.
So it's like having a little bit more like empathy for myself of if I need to take a gig for the check, fine. if, and just like kind of acknowledging like that there's room for me to kind of say like, hey, like this is what I need. So it's been a journey. It's been interesting. And it's one of those things that like I'm really lucky in that a lot of the people that I work with are really good business minds.
Mm.
So like I've been able to like really learn from them and be able to go to them and be like, hey, like I'm kind of like working through this and like kind of talk it out and like bounce stuff off of each other and everything. But it's definitely been like that moral, dilemma of like, but everyone should be able to sing if they want to sing. But also like, okay, I do bring something to the table and I do put in a lot of work and that's worth compensating. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's been a lot to wrap my head around.
Yeah, it's a wild thing.
So wild.
Yeah, the way that I've been doing it is like I teach for money, and
Mm.
then I really don't have very many like musical gigs that pay. Most
Right.
of my musical gigs are just free, whether that's my shit or like bands that I'm playing with. And I think I've largely made those decisions because like coming out of college, I made all of my money like on gigs.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit of like a burnout thing for me because I really wanted to be playing like my own songs.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. That's how I've been doing it so far. But now with like the Corona stuff, it's like I'm a lot of those lessons are transitioning to online,
Yeah.
which I'm so stoked to still be able to like make some money.
Right.
But teaching online, that's a different world.
No, it doesn't seem easy.
It's
So
crazy.
I definitely respect you for giving it a go.
Giving it a try. Do you have any students?
No, everyone kept telling me like you got to get into teaching and everything.
Oh,
And I was like I really don't think that's like who I am.
totally.
Like I don't think it's going to work and I tried. It's just like man, like this is just not me, which sucks right now when we're in a position where it's like I could be giving online lessons.
Mm.
But like it's interesting because my older sister is a teacher. She's a kindergarten special ed inclusion teacher.
Oh wow.
So I'm like, I think the universe gave her all of the teaching genes. Like I think like because like I think about what she does and like the patience that she has and like all that stuff, and I'm just like, I don't have that. Like I wouldn't describe myself as an impatient person,
Yeah.
but I definitely don't have like teacher patience.
Yeah, it takes a lot of patience,
Yeah,
especially online.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Yeah, it's I I just can't like all the problems that you can run into with the online teaching.
Oh yeah.
Like like I know like with my mom when we've been FaceTiming, every time I've answered the phone, she's had the camera in the wrong direction. So I just imagine a student
Oh
like
yeah.
like logging on to like Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, and like the student is just like, cool, here's my lick, and you're just like, I can't see your hands. Like like I'm looking at the wall.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. But I think I'm beginning to figure it out. I
Nice.
think the trick is that you really need to prepare for each lesson
Hmm.
and like make sure like to like prepare a sheet and email it so that like it's that I know exactly what we're going to be going through.
Yeah, that makes
Um yeah, because before how I would do it, I would just have all my students like keep track of their assignments in this book. And then each time that we'd get together, it would be clear to me like what I would have to assign them next.
right.
So I could kind of like improvise the lessons in a way. So now I'm having to like prepare for them instead of improvising.
Yeah. No, that sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I'm thankful to have any work. I'm not trying to complain, but it is, I think hopefully it'll teach me something about my character or life or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think we're all gonna, walk out of this a little different.
Yeah.
one way or the other.
Yeah. 100%. Okay, so you play in a million bands
I
in
do.
Los Angeles. I feel like every time I go out, you're playing in one of the bands. I've probably seen you play drums 12 times and never has that ever been in the same band.
That's so funny. That it's such a compliment too. So thank you. That's super cool.
You're in demand, but I would like to know like right now, I mean,
Yeah.
no one's playing because of Corona, but if Corona wasn't a thing, how many projects are you involved in right
So to give you the rundown of what my calendar was supposed to be.
now? Yeah.
Last week it was looking very likely that I was going to be going to South by Southwest with, I hope they're okay that I'm saying that we were possibly doing South by Southwest. The great band called City of Sound.
Cool.
It's guitar, violin, keys and vocal, and then drums. And that, like, I auditioned and locked that in like a month ago.
Cool.
So that, like, I've been itching to get like the first gig like under my belt and everything. So that was going to be last week for South by Southwest. Then last night, so that's, let me get the dates here just for the sake of, just because. So
You're good.
yeah, so last night, March 20th, was supposed to be at headlining the Troubadour for Babers for their album release show.
Oh yeah.
They are a incredible dark pop duo.
Mhm.
I saw the first time I saw Lisa play at like an open mic years ago and just like fell in love with like her voice, the sound, like the songwriting, everything. And then Dana joined in and it was like, whoa, like it somehow got better. So they finally put out their debut album yesterday and we were supposed to be celebrating that last night at the Troubadour. PSA, that's now August 1st. If
Oh
you're
yeah.
around,
Hell yeah.
please come because everyone's really bummed that this didn't happen last night.
Totally.
So then tonight and tomorrow, I was supposed to be in LA tonight and then in Ojai tomorrow with a band called The Eyes.
Cool.
I got with them because John Bottrell is in that band. I don't know exactly what he plays in that band because he plays like 10 million things, but he produced a record that I worked on last year. So I was supposed to do 2 gigs with his band. And then April 3rd was supposed to be at House of Machines with Tom Sless celebrating that record, which is the one that we did with John.
Yeah.
So that album comes out this Friday, March 27th. So that was supposed to be April 3rd, that album release show. And then June 6th is supposed to be a City of Sound show at a Winona Earp fan convention.
Oh wow.
Which, great TV show, incredible community of fans. So really looking forward to that. The convention hasn't been canceled or postponed as of yet. I think everyone's kind of crossing our fingers that like we'll be good to go by then.
Yeah.
And then the following weekend was supposed to be playing at Pride. And I don't know if I can give more details on that, so I'm not going to give more details on that just to be safe. But Pride got postponed.
Oh wow.
So like I was starting to like fill up. And like for me, a lot of stuff comes up. Like it's pretty rare that I have stuff that far out. Like it's kind of like, oh cool, like gig in 2 weeks, are you around?
Yeah.
So I was expecting to have a busy April and May. So that's, and then like, you know, who knows what could have popped up recording wise.
Totally.
So that's what I was looking at, like officially on the books and like what I was supposed to be doing and working with right now.
So that's like 7 or 8 projects.
Yeah, and then there's just to be like, make sure I'm not playing favorites with anyone. This feels so douchey to just be running down like a list.
You are not. I'm very interested to know.
You asked, yeah.
I'm very interested.
There's another incredible singer that I play with, Marissa Barbalato. So I think she has some songs that are about to come out. Who knows what's like happened with that with Corona and everything. But like we were looking to kind of do something in May. So I play for her. And then there's a great duo called Dark Play, which it's Sergio and Max from Cold Violets. If you or anyone listening knows them, and they have like this like 80s like The Cure kind of like side project thing. So I've played a few shows with them and really love that. And then a great like kind of like power pop punk thing, Cowboy Boy. They like
I've heard of them actually.
Yeah, that I love. Anytime Olivia calls me, I am so happy. It's like Josie and the Pussycats, but like today.
Hell yeah.
So like I love doing that anytime her name pops up on my phone, I'm like, please be a Cowboy Boy gig.
Hell yeah.
So that's like pretty much everything.
So you're literally in like 13 bands right now.
There's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah.
It's fucking sick.
It's incredible. Like I wake up every day and I'm just like, holy shit.
Yeah, you're absolutely killing it.
Thank you. It's the dream. Like I think all drummers like have this thing where we want to just be playing as much as we can. So and it's really cool because like no two projects sound the same.
Yeah.
Like I get to be like a different, flex a different muscle with everyone.
Hell yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
All right, I gotta be honest and say that I gotta pee real bad.
Do it.
So I'm gonna go do that. We'll leave the stream going.
Perfect.
And then I'll come back and we'll pick up. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're back from a quick little pee break. Woo. I honestly had to go real bad. And I was also in need of some more whiskey, which I'm happy to have found.
Yeah.
But we were just talking about the 13 different projects that you're in.
It doesn't feel like a ton because like as of now, nothing has been like in the busiest season at the same time, which was already kind of on the verge of changing, but now it's definitely going to change when Corona ends because everyone's going to want to hit the ground running.
Absolutely.
So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, I am just like so fortunate, and I've been out here for 5 years now, so like. I've been like trying to build a network and like build, all the skills that I would need and just like build the, foundation of like the career that I want. So it feels good to like really see stuff starting to solidify. And again, just like the most grateful for all of it.
Hell yeah. In all your different projects, how much or I don't exactly know how to ask this question, but like how often do you find yourself playing your voice in the project compared to maybe like really tailoring the parts that you're playing for the genre and the sound of the band?
So this is actually a super fun question.
Cool.
So with Babers, Lisa, who is the two official band members are Lisa Hagen, Dana Cargioli. This is the strangest time to realize I've never said Dana's last name out loud. We've been friends for like 2 years now, so I really hope that was right.
That's so funny.
Because now with online, like we all just type at each other. So like I've never but anyway. So Lisa's first instrument were the drums.
Oh, wow.
So with writing and everything, and I'm not on the new record. That's another incredible drummer, Jason Rodriguez. But Lisa writes the parts. She has such a clear idea in her head of what they're supposed to sound like. And I think if you listen to the record, it's so clear that it's like this integral voice. And it's this extra way that she's expressing herself musically and everything. So the interesting thing with that gig is that it's like if they wanted a robot, they would just play to a track.
Totally.
But they do want the parts to all be played note for note.
Interesting.
So, which is super fun for me at this point because it's this really fun, like, creative exercise of, okay, how do I still be me
Yeah.
when, like, I'm given exactly what to play?
Mm.
Like, how do I still, like, find a way to, like, put myself into it
Mm.
and, like, find my voice within it? So that's really fun. And then juxtaposed to Tom Sless, who is he's like, I think he's shit. He's gonna kill me because I can't remember exactly what he said. He said it's Petty's Wildflowers with Springsteen's Thunder Road. Because I would always say it's like Petty meets Springsteen.
Oh,
And he was like, tell them like it's Wildflowers meets Thunder Road. And I was like, that's 100% correct. And I should be saying that. And we have a really special relationship musically where he feels very confident that like I'm always like bringing to the table what he needs and what he's wanting. But he's also an incredibly talented multi-instrumentalist. So when I would get the songs from him, because I've been playing with him for about 2 years now as well, and most of the time he'd be like, this is what I want, like for the most part, but toss in some of your own fills, like if something, and like he's usually pretty clear about like, no, I specifically want this. Like if there's something that's really important to him to be played or voiced that specific way. And even on the record, there are like 1 or 2 things where he's like, I really want this fill to be exactly this. But for the most part, there's a lot of room for me to like kind of put some of myself into it. And there's also a ton of room for me to be like, hey, I have this idea. Can I try something? And even if he decides he doesn't like it, there's still that we still leave that time. So it's interesting because I feel like I get to be equally myself musically in both places.
Wow.
But like it's being done very, very differently.
Yeah.
And like I wanted to make that clear with Favors because I don't want it to sound like, oh, they're so mean, like they don't let me play my own stuff, like because that's not like what it is, and that's not how I feel about it. Again, like when you listen to those parts, like it's really hard to imagine anything else there. Like those are the right parts. So it's not like, and like Lisa and I have talked about this. I've said this to her before, so I have no problem saying it here.
Yeah.
Like I never listen to it and think like, excuse me, like, oh man, I would have done something different there. Like, nah, I don't know about that. Like, oh, why did you do that? Like every time it's there, I'm like, yeah, that's the part. Like it's so clear that that's what should be there.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, I'm not going to get in the way of that. Like why would I try and like insert myself like that? Like that's the part, and they're great parts. They're fun parts. They add so much. So it's fun, and it's been like a cool, like I've been playing drums for 18 years now.
Yeah.
And this is the first time that someone's like really locked it down that much.
Yeah.
Of like note for note, I want it like exactly like the record. So that's been really, really fun for me. And I know that it wouldn't be the right fit for some people, which I can and can't understand, but it's like the people are good and the music is great. Why would I try and get in the way of any of it? So it's like it's a pretty good balance of both. And like with dark play, like for the most part, I'm playing exactly what's on the record. Cowboy Boy, I get like some freedom, but I don't stray too far because again, those parts are pretty specific. So I don't mess around too much. So I feel like I have a good balance of like play the record and find a way to be yourself within that, and then like that like extra room to like try some stuff and all of that. So it's fun. It's like a really fun batch that I've got right now.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I think what I'm kind of hearing is that like in all these different projects, you're just as respected as a musician.
Oh, thank you.
And like maybe that like, I don't know, maybe it's like you're thirsty for that like respect first.
Yeah.
And then like it's not so important to you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe it's like not so important to you who's coming up with the drum parts.
Absolutely.
as much as like just that everyone is respected and the best drum parts are being played.
Yeah, 100%. And like to get like super, super deep with it,
Yeah.
I know what it's like when I'm trying to say something and everyone around me isn't listening or is trying to bend my words or manipulate what I'm saying and take it out of context or whatever. So it's really important to me, whether it be live, especially recording, but
Mm,
it's super, super crucial to me that I make sure that the story is being told the way the writer wants it to be told, and
mm,
to keep that integrity. And like, because I mean, songs are a time capsule, they're a memory, you know, they're these super interesting things where someone is so moved by something in whatever direction that they want to take it and immortalize it
mm.
for like 3 minutes.
Totally.
And so I want to be super respectful at all times of the fact that like this is something that mattered to someone that much.
Yeah.
And if if someone needs me to be an ideas person, I can step in and give that, and I'm happy to like. There's a really good quote from Rashida Jones on the Off Camera podcast, talking about when she was with Pixar, working towards like Toy Story 4, and she said that like in that writer's room she learned how to not be afraid to give a bad idea, because from that bad idea someone else might have a good idea.
Totally.
Like, so I will throw spaghetti at the wall,
Yeah.
like I will throw percussive pasta at the wall and like see what sticks, and even if I know that it's not going to work, I will put it out there because maybe that's the thing that leads to finding what does. And also, if someone knows what they want and has it all figured out and just needs me to execute it, I can do that too.
Hell
I've never been like very like show offy behind the kit. Like I just want to lay down the solid foundation, and I want anyone playing with me to feel like there's a strong home base, and like there's someone like setting the vibe, setting the tone, and they like if something goes wrong, that like if like no matter what's happening on stage, that like I'm gonna hold it down. So
Hell
that's 100% the most important thing to me.
Fuck yeah. And it's obvious that you're like providing a service that's of value to people because you're playing in so many different projects. So what you're doing is obviously working. So
I just looked at my face and saw how red my cheeks got.
it's just the camera. It's just the
Yeah,
computer.
it's the camera. I'm not blushing. It's fine.
Totally. No, but shit, I was kind of on a thought train and I just jumped off it.
Sorry, I cut you off.
I jumped off the train.
Sorry.
Oh, well, I was gonna say that like I'm like it's obvious that other people are really satisfied with the service that you're providing, but I'm really happy to hear that you're also satisfied with the situations that you're playing in.
Yeah.
And like everybody's happy. It sounds like a fairly ideal situation.
It's really amazing, and like it's interesting for you to put it like that, because this might be the first time that I've thought about like how many projects I'm a part of and how mutually happy, like
Hell yeah.
how much mutual happiness is in all of them, and that is like very special, and I don't take that lightly.
Mm,
Because again, like I respect that, like, and like for some people it's not this deep. Some people just want a drummer that can play.
totally.
But like for some people it is very specific of like, these are songs that are really personal to me.
Mm,
I need to trust on a personal level this person being part of the band and being part of like bringing them to life.
totally.
So even if we don't like each other necessarily, I still want people to know that like I respect what's happening, and I do take it seriously when someone is like, "Hey, I want you to play these songs." Like it does mean a lot, and I do try and respect whatever's being said and whatever emotion is being expressed.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
This whole time you've been talking about like wanting to honor the writer and like the vision that the writer has. Have you ever taken that position of the writer yourself?
Not particularly.
Are you interested in that at all, or?
Not really. I used to do a lot of like creative writing as a kid and like even into high school and everything. And somewhere along the line, I just got way more comfortable and satisfied like speaking through the drums. Like I can walk off stage and even though it's someone's song, like someone else's words, I can still feel like I've said something. And maybe the audience doesn't necessarily pick up on that. Every now and then someone will be like, "Hey, like it felt like there was something extra in there from you." And that, I mean, that's once in a blue moon, to be clear. But you know, I just feel that's just where I feel most comfortably speaking at this point in my life. So I mean, anything can happen technically, but I think at this point, like I feel more that like my life's work is just like helping everyone around me to tell their stories, and I get to, you know, say my piece through that.
Hell yeah. That's 100% what you're doing. So
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's nice to feel like I'm doing what I try to do.
hell yeah.
Yeah,
Hell
because
yeah.
it sucks when like you're working towards something and like you're not getting the result you want,
Totally.
and like where there's that disconnect and like the lack of awareness. So like it's really cool because like we've never played together,
Mhm.
which we should do that when this is all over. That would be so much fun.
Totally.
But like it's cool to hear someone like from an outside perspective, like, you know, say that and everything. So thank you.
You're so welcome.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Your reputation precedes you, I think. Yeah.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's coming from like a small town in New Jersey,
Mm,
like straight to Los Angeles
totally.
is like, and I definitely came here knowing like, okay, this is gonna take some time.
Mm.
So it does feel cool to have like a little bit of a reputation going, you know, whether it be good or
Oh,
bad.
yeah.
Like, it's interesting that like people are like, and like people do come up to me after gigs and be like, hey, I think I saw you play like a week ago somewhere and like stuff like that. So it's cool to be like, it's also just cool to feel like I'm cementing myself in like the Los Angeles music scene because it's huge out here and there's so much talent.
Hell yeah.
If I can be part of that, that feels incredibly special.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's a special
Fuck
place
yeah.
to be.
Yeah, Los Angeles, I feel like a part of me takes it for granted because I grew up, at least in the suburbs around here. I live in Pasadena now, so you can argue whether or not that's like that's LA. But we are technically on legal lockdown here in Pasadena, so that is an argument for being Los
Yeah.
Angeles. But God, I'm losing my trains of thoughts.
Talking
Uh,
about LA music scene.
what's that?
LA music scene.
Yeah, we were talking
Oh,
about.
and taking for granted
Oh
what we
yeah,
have in LA.
taken for granted here. I switch back and forth between feeling like I take it for granted because like growing up around here, and then also like maybe I am like starry-eyed, like think it's the most incredible thing because
Yeah.
I grew up here and I haven't really seen much else. I
Mhm.
mean, I've visited other places, but I haven't like lived anywhere else or tried to like gig too much anywhere else. I did like a DIY like house show tour up to Seattle like a couple years
Nice.
ago, but it
Yeah.
was, nothing too much. But I'm curious like what advice you might have for someone trying to move from the small town to a big town. They want to be a drummer.
Give yourself time. You have to be patient. Like it's I mean, I think you have to allow room to grow and like for your network to build anywhere,
Yeah.
especially somewhere like out here. Like for the first year I was out here, I really only knew actors.
Uh,
It took me, which like that's fine, but like when you're trying to get into music, like
mm,
you don't really have someone to network. Like there's no networking there necessarily.
yeah.
Because like it's not like, oh well, come sit in with my band, like, oh, we should jam sometime. It's like, oh well, you could be in my web series. It's like, I don't want to do that. Like, no. um and even like I would say only really within the last like year and a half, 2 years did my like social circle and like even my professional like networking circle really start to solidify.
Mm,
um So I would say give yourself time to adjust.
Mm.
And if you hate it for reasons that don't have anything to do with your career, then find a new place.
Mm.
But if it's been like 2 years and you're like, oh, I'm not like on the Grammys already, it's like, okay, pause, take a breath, like give it some time. Nothing is overnight, no matter what they want you to think. And like I think people just need to know, like, it's nothing can really prepare you for how much bigger the pond is out here compared to like the big fish small pond thing, and then you get to the big city and it's like it's a culture shock. So like just give yourself time to adjust and be good to yourself and be patient and just keep plugging away, and people will notice and you'll find the right people and the right projects and stuff, but you just got to give it time.
It's good advice. When did you move to Los Angeles?
So I moved in August of 2014.
Oh, cool. So 6 years.
So coming up on 6 years, yeah.
Fuck yeah. Hell
Which
yeah.
is crazy. It feels like no time and all the time,
Totally.
all at once.
Totally. I'm curious to hear a little bit about like the bullet points of the lifestyle of being a drummer, because in a big city. So being a drummer is unique in that like maybe there's not a back line, and maybe you're bringing your kit to all your gigs, and then maybe you have to pay for a lockout just so that you can practice, which other instrumentalists don't have to do, and maybe you have to drive a specific kind of a car, and
Yeah.
run me through like how is your life different because you're a drummer compared
Okay.
to some other.
So I will go in backwards order to the 3 bullet points that you just listed, and then we can go more from there, but I'll start with that. So I drive a Prius V.
Hell yeah.
Which is the longer Prius. It fits a 4-piece drum set with a gear case. We have done mini tours, like with Babers, we've done it like twice. Once as a 3-piece where I had a floor tom and some like percussion, and then we had 2 amps and I think 3 guitars plus merch bins, and then like the 3 people. And then another time we did just like snare, the electronics, cymbals and pedals, and then we always have the guitar pedal boards as well both times, and then I think 2 or 3 guitars, a bass, and I forget what amps we had for that. I think we had at least 1 amp plus merch, and then 4 people in that car. So the Prius V, the length was for the drum set, and the Prius was because I did not want to deal with an SUV with California gas prices. And I wanted something with really, really good mileage, but I knew that it had to be a little bit bigger. So I drive the Prius V specifically for all those reasons. So that's that. And then I do pay for a lockout, which sucks, especially right now, because I am sitting in my 3rd floor apartment building with no access to drums. But
do you have roommates?
No, it's just me.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, so like I have a practice pad, but like I was just telling a friend earlier today, like a couple of weeks ago, or no, I guess around this time last year, I am a big women's sports fan, so I was watching a WNBA game, and I had the practice pad like on my coffee table, and I was like doing like some hand exercises while watching the game. So that's like over an hour of just constant drumming, and finally the people below me started like banging on the ceiling, and I was like, oh shit, they were hearing all of that. So like I also just have to be super careful about, like, even with the practice pad, I have to be so careful about like where I have it, like, and especially now that everyone's home all the time.
Damn.
That's been interesting. But so I have a lockout, which is nice because it's like if I can't sleep and it's 2 a.m., I can roll up and play drums for an hour and then come back home. It also works because I'm starting to get into like self-recording.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a space to do that.
Yeah.
So that's that one. So that's an additional expense that I have. I know some drummers who just have like an electronic kit that they keep in their apartment, or will just go rent like hourly at one of the rehearsal studios like Amp or Bedrock, and just get in like their practice like every other day or whatever there, and they feel that that's cheaper. For me, I like knowing that I can have everything set up. I can leave cases there and everything, especially now with like the microphones, and I can just walk in and out. So that's that situation. And then with backline, so most places will have bass drum, floor tom, rack tom, and then cymbal stands. So for the most part, you're responsible for bringing your kick pedal, your own snare, and cymbals. That's because those are kind of the things that people tend to really personalize. Also, like I've seen them referred to as like the breakables. So like I've seen that too. So like it's really like a courtesy thing, but so most places like that's all you're really bringing. They have like the bulk of it.
Yeah.
But some places do not have a house kit or a backline kit, so you're having to coordinate with people. Well, like who's gonna bring the drum set and like all this stuff, which normally people are cool, but every now and then you just get like I think it's been enough time that I can tell this story, and I'll leave out but and I will leave out anything. I'll leave out as much as I can that doesn't point to anyone, because I don't want to be a dick.
Sure.
Although maybe I should be a dick about this. It's also just so bizarre that if by chance this person hears it, they're gonna be like, "Oh, that was me." So used my kit for backline, and it was someone's birthday. We played first, and then second band played. It was someone in that band's birthday, and I don't know whether it was a friend or a fan, like I'm unclear on the status of this band and everything.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, someone decided to throw a pack of hot dogs onto the stage, opened, and threw them at the drummer and the drum set.
Whoa.
So I'm trying to pack up at the end of the night. Like, what? Like, did someone spill beer? Like, this sucks. And like I had like my own like blanket lying down and everything. I'm like, this is wet. What is this? Like, this is nasty. And it had even like splattered onto the bass drum head.
Ugh.
Which, like, if you're listening and you're not a musician, the bass drum is the one that like faces out. So like it's like essentially splattered against a wall. And it also got on the floor tom. And like I looked, and there's just this package of hot dogs and all of the hot dog water or juice, whatever you prefer to call it, everywhere. And like the hot dogs had like escaped the package, so I was also then trying to track down the hot dogs. And I was just like, this is the worst thing.
Totally.
Like so like it's also like whenever you're backlining stuff, it's just like, man, I hope everyone decides to be respectful of gear tonight. Like,
wow.
So that's like, and again, like that's happened one time. I think that's the only time in like the history of the world that someone has hitting their drums. That obviously doesn't happen every night, but like it's tough when you don't know the bands you're playing with to be like, yeah, I'll toss my kit up there. It's like, because you just really never know. And again, it's like, you like, what is that band's fan base like? What are their friends like? And all that. So, but even going backwards a little bit, like when there is a house kit, like Faber's is a good example. Like I still have to bring, I use a Roland SPD-SX to trigger like electronic sounds and stuff. I need to bring an extra stand for that. You know, and there are extra cables involved in that and everything. Hold on one second. I got to text my mom good night.
Oh, do it.
You can leave that in if you would like. I love my mother.
Of course, I'm gonna leave this in.
Leave it in. You can take it out
100%.
whenever you want. So yeah, like there are times like if you're someone that if you play in like a metal band and you insist on like 10 cymbals, like you're going to be responsible for bringing extra stands with you.
Totally.
But for the most part, like most most venues have like a solid backline kit. So it's very few that I run into out here that don't.
Interesting.
So those were the first 3 bullet points that you had tossed out.
Totally.
I'm trying to think what else there is. Paying for sticks is also interesting.
Oh, really?
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of upkeep with drums, like sticks, heads,
Yeah.
and even just like extra cymbals. Like maybe you get a new gig and like everything you have is too bright. Or like maybe everything's too dark or like whatever. So there's like a lot of money that you find yourself pouring into the instrument.
Yeah, drums are expensive.
Oh yeah.
Have you thought about like moving towards stick endorsements or head endorsements? Are those able?
Yeah, so those I am all working towards.
Cool.
That was another thing that I thought I might get in a really good position for this year.
Yeah.
I am going after like some of the bigger companies.
Fuck yeah.
So like I've like resigned myself to knowing like this could take a while, but for me it's like I'm a very loyal person just in general.
Yeah.
And like so the sticks and the cymbals and the heads I use are the only ones I've ever played. Like I've been with them all 18 years.
What brands?
So Vic Firth sticks,
Cool.
Zildjian cymbals, Remo drum heads.
Nice.
And then I also play DW drums.
Cool.
And that's been new since I moved out here. And
What
that
about
was hardware DW as well.
Cool.
And so those are all like massive companies in the drum world. And so I'm aware that like there needs to be more that I offer them and everything. And for me, like the endorsement thing is more about like, cool, like I'm on tour and our van got broken into. Help. Like it's more that like family support kind of that I'm looking for and less of the like clout necessarily, if one would consider there to be clout in it. But that is something that's like always in the back of my mind, especially now that so many companies do such cool content, like video wise and stuff. It's like, well, I want to be part of some of that. Like that shit looks like fun.
Totally.
Companies do a lot of fun stuff with their artists now. So it's something that like is definitely like on the checklist and everything. And like for me, it's like however long it takes is however long it takes. Like if someone else calls and is like, hey, like I got these sticks, like do you want to be the face of the company? Like the answer is going to be no.
Hell yeah.
Unless it's Vic Firth, but that we're not there yet.
Totally.
But yeah, it's like I feel really solid with the gear that I use. So I just hope that they learn to love me back as much as I love them. So we'll see where that road takes me.
Fuck yeah. Do you have any friends who are not sponsored, but endorsed by any of those companies?
So I have a few friends with endorsements in general.
Yeah.
And I do know I'm trying to figure out the best way to say it. Yeah, I do know some people with both Remo and DW.
Sick.
So I feel like I've got like I know that those people would all be willing to say like, hey, like this is someone that we can get behind. Like I know that none of those people would be like, hey, like you don't want her repping your brand. Like no way.
Totally.
I know that when the time comes, or I feel confident that like if those calls were to be made, they would be like, oh yeah, absolutely do it. So it feels like something for the future for sure, and something that like I'm potentially rounding the corner of.
Fuck yeah.
We'll see. Yeah. Time will tell.
I have a nerdy drum question for you.
Please. That's all I've been wanting all day. Please.
What do you think about the difference between, okay, bass drum, like heel down or heel up?
So they're both important.
Okay.
It depends on what you're playing. And I will say, as someone who mostly plays heel up and learned playing heel up, you can get into a lot of trouble with like your foot being just like way too high and like you use the wrong parts of your legs. Everything. So I think heel up with a lot of awareness and attention paid to like developing like, okay, how high is my foot? Does it need to be that high? But I think there's room for both. Like depending on like if I'm playing like something a little jazzier and quieter, like yeah, I'll go heel down. But for the most part, my heel's always up.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, that's that.
Yeah, I learned heel up, and that was how I always played until I studied jazz in college. So then like my buddies playing jazz, they're all like heel down, and I was like, whoa, it's crazy. So I feel bad saying this. I'm sitting next to a drum kit right now.
No.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
It burns. It burns. I have a beautiful 1970s Slingerland vintage kit that I got like a month and a half ago.
Hell yeah.
Sitting like 3 miles from my house that I just haven't been able to touch in a week.
Okay, do you know who Beth Goodfellow is?
That name sounds strikingly familiar.
So she's a drummer in Los Angeles, and she just posted like a video on her story saying that she talked to her neighbors and she came to an agreement with her neighbors that she could play drums like 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. or something.
Oh my God.
In her apartment. I'm curious if you could like Postmates someone to deliver your drums to your apartment.
Oh man.
And then talk to your neighbors. But then also like is the whole lockout like shut down right now, or could you still get in if you went there?
I think I could technically get in.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten any texts or calls that like it hasn't been shut down.
Yeah.
But my whole thing is definitely like right now, if I'm unsure, I'm staying home.
Sure.
And like there are a lot of people at this particular practice space and stuff, like not in my room, but just like coming in and out and everything.
Yeah.
So it's like, as much as it kills me and as much as I would love to just go, it's like, if I'm not 100% positive that it's safe to do, I'm just going to stay put.
I hear you.
But that's incredibly kind and generous of her neighbors.
Totally.
Because I'm just thinking, like, I have someone to my left, someone to my right, someone across from me, someone below me. That's at least 4 direct sites of drum impact.
Yeah. Drums
that would be a lot.
Yeah. It's a
like, it would piss me off if I was sitting here and a neighbor started playing the drums.
Totally.
Yeah. So good for her. She has incredibly kind neighbors.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's true. So how have you been spending the time so far?
So I am a massive drum nerd. So I've had like a practice pad. I've been working with that. And then I watch a lot of YouTube is great because there are a ton of like old clinics and like older like drum DVDs and stuff. I've been watching like a ton of those.
Hell yeah.
Really fun. And then also just like, you know, binging some TV shows, watching a movie or whatever. I decided I'm gonna watch all of the Marvel movies, but in chronological order to the movie timeline.
Cool.
So like it's like Captain America, like the first Captain America, Captain Marvel, Iron Man.
Totally.
Like instead of like starting with Iron Man, so that's been really fun.
Hell yeah.
And then just trying to be in touch with people. I've done a lot of like coffee, lunch, dinner dates with people over like Skype or FaceTime, just to feel like there's still some sense of like togetherness and stuff. So,
Totally.
what about you? What have you been filling your days with?
Running.
Nice.
I love to run. One of the things that I'm most excited about with the Corona quarantine is to have a very strict bedtime and like wake up time. They call it like a circadian rhythm, I guess. But
Okay.
like there have been times in my life where I have had like very strict bedtimes and get up times, and I'm so much happier when I have like a strict bedtime. And that's one of the biggest things that I struggle with, like being a musician.
You can't do it. There's no way.
There's zero way, like going out to shows, going out to whatever, like you can't have a consistent bedtime.
Unless your bedtime becomes 4 a.m.
Exactly.
Like, there's no way.
Yeah. Which like my preference, I like would love to go to bed at like 9 p.m. and wake up at like 5 a.m. every day.
Not that much. I would love to be like a 9 to 8 or like a 9 to 7 person.
Hell yeah.
Like 10 to 8 would be nice.
Totally.
It's just not feasible as a musician.
Yeah.
My work is at 10. Like there's no way.
Yeah.
And like I always feel like shit. I feel so unproductive if I get out of bed like past like 9, which is like really brutal because it's like I probably could like afford to just wake up at 10 with like my schedule and with being a musician and everything, but like I just feel so mentally like nasty about it.
Totally.
So I totally hear you with getting into a sleep rhythm. That sounds nice.
Yeah, I'm stoked. So I've committed to 11 p.m. sleeping, and I feel like that's realistic because like with this like trying to do like a podcast or whatever, some people will be later. So like 11 p.m. sleep and then 7 a.m. wake up. That's what I'm gonna do.
That's great.
I'm stoked.
Howard.
And then I've been just like cooking more often, which is nice.
Yeah.
And practicing lots of guitar. Do you play guitar at all?
I did a little bit like growing up and everything, but not really anymore.
Hell yeah. Well, basically like there's lots of different ways to think about scales on the guitar. And there's this 3-note per string method that I've just been avoiding like my whole life.
Yeah.
So I've been like really digging into that and like weird like triad voicings and like running pattern, blah, 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 nerdy like guitar shit.
Get into it. I love it.
And so I've been digging into that. And actually another thing that I wanted to talk to you on the podcast about was that you had reached out to me a couple days ago about the small group thing that I had started. Yeah, so that's still going on Tuesday nights. So that's like an anchor of like we write weekly to-do lists, and then like hopefully we're all getting those done. And music stuff. So I've been doing this thing. Like last year, I did the daily songwriting for a year thing. And then now I'm doing this thing where on Instagram every day, I've been writing a new song Monday through Friday with like a little slider of like, you can like do an emoji of like how much you like the song.
Yeah.
And then the song that gets the most amount of likes, I'll like finish that song and post that finished song.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
The song of the week. I've been trying to figure that out. It hasn't really been catching on too well. Like people, the slider mechanism might not be the best way to go about it. But
maybe can't you do like a poll on Instagram? Maybe like at the end of the week you do like the 5 options.
Totally. That might be a better way to get people engaged. I was trying to come up with an option that would be daily.
Yeah.
So that like people would get in the habit of interacting with my stories every day.
Oh, I think the slider is tough because if it's like, oh, I'm not feeling this one, like
exactly.
I don't want to be the asshole that like just nudges it and then sends it to you.
Yeah, yeah. And then a lot of times
Did you just say do it? Because I will now for all of them. I will be that asshole if you encourage it.
You absolutely should. I need more negative feedback in my life.
So douchey. Like something about that feels more like unnecessarily critical than like, oh, I have a choice of 5. Which one do I love the most?
Totally.
But that's also just me.
No, I think that that's really good feedback, and I think that I would feel the same way as someone who's like voting. So next week I'm gonna try out a different way of doing it.
Interesting.
I'm basically what's up?
I'll keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do 3 instead of 5. And then I'm gonna post it on my main feed and say like comment underneath which one you like the most.
Oh, that's a good way to do it. Yeah.
Vote. So it won't be daily, but I think that more people will interact with it.
Yeah.
So whatever. But with all this time, like I'm gonna try and do these daily podcasts with people. Because with Zoom, it's so easy. Like it's recording right now.
When was the last time you said the word Zoom this many times in a week?
Never.
Like, right? Like
Never.
this came out of nowhere.
Oh yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, Zoom is doing all right now.
Zoom is killing it.
They're chilling.
Zoom loves us.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, that's mostly it. Just music and running. I own a Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
And I keep thinking that I'm gonna like sit down and play it a bunch, but I just haven't yet.
See, I feel like you're the reverse of everyone else who is like, I keep feeling like I'm gonna go for a run. I sit down with my Nintendo Switch all day.
That's so funny.
Like I feel like you flipped the script there.
I know. I've been really into running since like 8th grade.
Oh god.
So it's like it's deep in my brain.
I wouldn't even run in an emergency. Like I hear the word running and I just get so tired. I love people who love it because I think it's great, but I just cannot like get myself into it.
Totally. I hear you.
Nothing.
I hear you. And I respect that because when I was in like 6th or 7th grade, I felt the same exact way.
It's terrible.
And then when I was in 8th grade, I had a PE teacher who like taught me correct running form.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it changed the game for me.
That's incredible. I wish like I was actually talking with people a few months ago about how like in PE like you get yelled at because you can't do like the national median of push-ups. But it's like, okay, then teach me how to do the proper push-up.
Totally.
Even like oh my god, I remember in high school I was in marching band and we had block scheduling, so it was like 4 classes a day. And so the first semester you would have band, and then the second semester you would do a split period where the first half of first period was gym and the second half of first period was band, which having gym first thing in the morning was awful.
Ugh.
Like so band and choir were like that. So basically your gym class was just the band and choir kids.
Yeah.
Which like fully embracing the stereotype of that, they would have us run for like 2 minutes as like the warm up, like around the gym, and like they would put on music and they would set like the, you know, like the basketball timer or whatever. And like I just remember eventually in like my senior year, one of the teachers just like stopped, like blew the whistle and was like, these band kids can't even run for a full minute. They won't even jog for a minute, and was just like she totally lost her mind. And I was like, I totally get it. Maybe this isn't the right place to have your meltdown over this. But like I just saw her die inside, like right in front of me. Like it was like she finally realized that like there weren't many like athletes in that period of gym.
Yeah. Being a high school PE teacher has to be a pretty depressing job.
It's got to be so thankless.
Yeah.
Like PE teachers are just so looked down upon.
Yeah.
So you must really love it. I hope they really love it.
Are you familiar with School of Rock, the Jack Black movie?
Yes. I
Remember what?
live and die by that movie.
Remember when he's like sitting at the lunch table with all his professors, and he's like, "And those who can't do, teach, and those who can't teach, teach Jim."
Yes. It's so good. That movie has aged so well.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's a classic. I could watch that every day and
Yeah.
not do it.
When I was in 7th grade, me and my buddy Calvin, we used to sit and watch that movie with our guitars, and we would play along to all the songs in the movie. Pretty fun.
I always wanted Freddie's hair.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I wish I could. And like when Joan Cusack walks in, she's like, Freddie, where are your sleeves? I was like, it's punk rock. I was like, I want to be him so badly.
Oh man.
I thought he was the coolest kid in the world the first time I saw that movie.
That's objectively true.
It's such a great movie.
Where is he now?
I don't know. I know they did. I was trying to remember because they did a reunion like a few years ago.
Like a 10-year reunion.
Yeah, and like they did like a concert. Like they all
Yeah.
played.
Yeah.
Which on like Jack Black, I know like he still loves that movie.
Totally.
Like he did I think it's GQ that does those videos where like actors break down like different roles they've played or whatever, and when he got to School of Rock, he was just like, yeah, this is the one I'm most proud of. Like I love this one. Yeah, and I'm like, it's so nice to hear that as someone who like that movie was such a big part of like me feeling joy in being a musician and like wanting to be in bands and stuff.
100%.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
What is your connection to actors? You were saying you only knew actors for a whole year.
So when I first moved out here, I had a friend from high school who was an actor, and she was like, you should come check out LA. And so I checked out LA and I loved it. So because she was an actor, all of her friends were actors. So like that was my like social connection.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So that's really most of what it is.
I hear you.
It was an accident.
I hear you. I thought maybe you were like a closet actor or something.
Oh no.
Not at all.
That's the wrong spotlight for me.
Yeah, I hear you.
Go ahead.
What shows have you been binging?
So what shows have I been binging? I've been rewatching Winona Earp.
I don't know what that is.
So, okay, it's based off of a comic book, which is based off of the idea that like Wyatt Earp's great great granddaughter or whatever lives in the town of Purgatory, and it's now like the curse of the air to like send demons back to hell.
Oh,
and
wow.
it's like a sci-fi western that takes place in Canada. Which is like a very interesting like mixed bag of stuff, but like it's super spunky and like sarcastic and like quick-witted and everything. It's very funny. It's got a lot of heart. It's like that's good. So there are 3 seasons on Netflix right now. So I've been rewatching that because it had been a while. And then I think I might rewatch Broad City because that's just always fun and the best. I feel like The Feels just came out yesterday.
I don't know what that is.
So that is a comedian, Mae Martin, who's like very funny, and she did like a 6-episode series for them, like scripted. So that's really cool. So I watched like the first 3 episodes of that.
Hell yeah.
Really love that. And I feel like there's something else that I've been like also watching, but I can't think of it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, what about you?
I haven't been watching any shows recently.
No? Nothing?
No, I watch a lot of YouTube.
Okay.
like interviews of like musicians on YouTube. I watch a lot of skate videos on YouTube, like podcasts on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
and then like video game stuff. It's interesting, like I hardly ever play video games, but I like watching
Other
video game kind of stuff. Well, it's not always other people playing video games. Like there's this YouTube account called Game Ranks, and they put out all this like video game related content.
Okay.
So they'll do like they have this one type of video that they call Before You Buy, and it's like this rundown of like new games that come out.
Mm-hmm.
And like I love watching those videos and learning about the new video games, but I don't really like go out and buy them and play them myself. I just like, for whatever reason, I get my fix just like watching videos about video games.
I love that.
But there is one Twitch user that I do subscribe to that like I love this dude, but I don't really watch Twitch too much. Well, I have before when I've gotten like super depressed, but I have to be like real sad.
That's not the worst depression habit I can think of.
There are worse ones.
Yeah, there's more like dangerous stuff you could be getting into. So like that's a pretty wholesome like
Totally.
thing to fall back on.
Totally, yeah. But I think the last show that I really got into was South Park, actually. I had like never watched South Park before. Well, I'd seen episodes and I thought that it was really gross and really crass and like really stupid.
Yeah.
And then on Christmas morning, actually, I remember I was up all night like recording a song, and it was 5 a.m. and I was wrapping presents for my family.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to watch something very irreverent. I was like really tired and sick. And I was like, South Park, like I'm just gonna watch South Park.
Why not?
So I turned on the Christmas episode of South Park and like fell in love with the storytelling. It really like blew me away. And then I went back and like watched a majority of the episodes.
Oh wow.
And it's impressive. There's like a lot more there than I thought there was going to be.
There are a few bits that like I remember my my AP economics teacher had us watch the Margaritaville episode.
Oh, I don't think I saw that one.
It's just strange to be watching South Park in a classroom.
Totally, especially in high school.
Yeah, like you're just kind of sitting there like, should we be doing this? Like I don't know about that. And like I haven't seen the episode since then, so I forget like what exactly it tied into, but like that teacher was cool, and he also taught like a current affairs class where like every week he would do something like talking about like society or what was going on in the world and then like tie it into a movie. So like we were just always watching movies in that class and with that teacher and everything, but I still think it's so funny that he just like put on South Park for a bunch of high school kids.
That's a pretty like that's an ambitious move.
It feels like living on the edge as a teacher.
If I was a high school teacher, I wouldn't be showing South Park.
No, I would be terrified to show
Totally.
South Park to a group of high schoolers.
100%.
So, I mean, good for him.
So funny. But it's like, I think I watched my first episode of South Park when I was in like 4th or 5th grade or something. It's like, you know, these kids are already seeing that shit.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember we had like family friends, and like one of the daughters was obsessed with who's the one with the orange hoodie? Is that Kenny?
Kenny, yeah.
Yeah, was like obsessed with Kenny, and like I have this very vivid memory of being like at the boardwalk at like the beach in New Jersey, and like everyone trying to win her this like plush Kenny from like a claw machine or whatever. So that's probably the most wholesome attachment anyone has to South Park.
Yeah, that checks out for sure. Yeah, that's so funny. Well, let me tell you about this group thing that I made.
Yeah.
So it's called Finishers Group.
Mm-hmm.
And we have this like form that we go through, And so like different people lead the meeting every time, but it's always like the same form, so you can like count on it being the same kind of a meeting. And it never lasts like more than an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 3 sections to each meeting. It's like group meditation, sharing, and then to-do list making. Mm-hmm. So the meditation is like 10 minutes of like sitting quietly or journaling. Mm-hmm. And then the sharing is like each person has about 7 minutes or so to like talk about whatever you want. It could be related to getting your stuff done, or it could be just like something that you want to get off your chest. And I guess like my formation of this group is like largely inspired by some time that I've spent in like 12-step groups. Mm-hmm. And I've like taken some things that I've liked from it and like left the rest. So I think that it's healing for people to be able to share without the worry that someone's going to like interrupt them or like try and give them advice about something.
Yeah.
And then I think it's also like really helpful to listen to people like share what they're going through, because it gives you like perspective. And then and then we write like a to-do list for the week. And so the idea is that if you're coming to this group every week, then you're always talking about how your last week's to-do list went and how this future to-do list like is going to go. Mm-hmm. And when we were meeting in person, we came up with this idea where we had this like blank literal canvas. And if you got your to-do list done, oh, my audio just went weird. Are you chilling?
I'm good. I'm chilling.
Perfect. Yeah. I don't know what happened. If you got your to-do list done, you got to make like a single brush stroke on this canvas.
Oh, that's awesome.
So then it like, in like months from now, it would be this like abstract painting of all these brush strokes that's like symbolic of people getting their work done or whatever. That's awesome. That's basically the synopsis. There's like it's all, everyone comes up with their own to-do list. Like there's no dogma. There's no principles that we all have to adhere to. It's like very literally people knowing that they have stuff they want to accomplish and like coming together for support in order to accomplish those things.
Yeah, I mean, I had reached out because like I had been wanting to try and come, but I kept having rehearsals on Tuesday nights.
Totally, yeah.
So I was like, this is annoying. And then all of this happened, and like I've been really searching for like community is really important to me as a person, and like feeling that sense of community and everything. Yeah. So I've been searching for ways to like still give myself that right now. And then like I saw you come across like my Instagram feed or whatever, and I was like, oh, like he does those. I wonder if he's still doing like those, you know, get-togethers and stuff. And so that's why I messaged you. It really came born out of like just feeling a need to still like feel like I'm part of a group who's all like taking a step together.
Fuck yeah.
That's one of the things that I love about being in a band. Like we all like take a step on our own, and it amounts to like a step as a group.
Totally.
So I thought that would be like a cool way to like keep myself accountable and like, you know, continuing to work and be productive and like meet some new people, still have that sense of like community and being like a part of something.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So it seemed like fun. It seemed like the right time.
Totally. Yeah. I'd love for you to check it out on Tuesday if you'd like.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's like in my calendar now. I can't wait.
Fuck yeah. No, yeah, it's cool. It's like it's all men right now. I don't know if that's like because like I'm a man and like but when I first started the group, there was one girl who was coming, and I was like, oh cool, like we'll get some like female perspective.
Yeah.
But it's been nice. I've actually had a couple people like from out of town that can't make it.
Yeah.
Have been like, oh, send me the sheet. Like I want to start my own group like this.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I've gotten on the phone with like one of the guys and talked to him about it. And it's cool. It's a group that I wanted to start like over a year ago and was too afraid to start at the time. But now having done it, it's quickly become like one of the most important things I do during the week.
Yeah,
I dig it. It's been cool.
No, it sounds nice. Like, I was excited when I saw you first post about doing it.
Fuck yeah.
And, like, I've been wanting to, like, come and check it out and everything. So
Fuck yeah.
I'm excited to finally be able to.
Hell yeah. The upsides of the coronavirus.
Yeah. Just barely.
Oh man, what a wild world we live in.
Cannot begin to wrap my head around it.
Damn.
Yeah.
Eva, this has been so fun.
This has been great.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
No, thanks for
Talking
having
to
me.
me.
Like, as new friends, this is like a fun way to just be like, well, fuck it, we're doing it.
Hell yeah. 100%. 100%. Before we sign off, is there anything else that you'd like the world to know?
Oh.
Give us a word of wisdom for these trying times.
A word of wisdom. Be good to yourself.
Hell yeah.
Because the only person that you truly spend forever with is you. So be gentle with yourself right now. And like specifically for right now, like with coronavirus, like if the best you can do today is like get up and brush your teeth and have a cup of coffee and just be scared and nervous, that's okay. Like, I think there's, not to get too long-winded here, but I think there's a lot of pressure on like being productive right now and like making the best of the time and everything. And it's like, dude, this is scary. Yeah. It's okay to be scared about it. And if you need a day to just process what's happening, take a day and process what's happening. So do what you need to do to get through it.
That's beautiful.
That's that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If people want to hire you for your drumming services, how would they get in contact with you?
All right. Well, first of all, hang on. I gotta go grab my laptop charger.
Oh, you
just got the low battery thing.
You do your thing.
A few seconds.
All
then ask that question again.
Ooh. Stretching. Stretching for the podcast.
This was such bad timing.
Oh, you're chilling. You're totally chilling.
All right. We're good. All right. Do you want to re-ask the question or should I just answer?
Oh, sure. I'll re-ask it.
Okay, cool.
We'll get in the flow.
Perfect.
All right. Here we go. The re-asking of the question. I better say it as if it's the first time. Okay. If people want to hire you for your drumming services, how would they get in contact with you?
So I do a lot on Instagram. It's a really difficult username, but it's Eva Plays the Drums.
Cool.
That is also my website and my email. Eva Plays the Drums at Gmail, and then evaplaysthedrums.com. Also, I would be a terrible friend and bandmate if I did not mention Babers, a band that I play with, just put out their new album yesterday. It's called Making It Up. That is available on Spotify and all that stuff. Wonderful music, killer harmonies. So definitely listen to that. And then on this upcoming Friday, so March 27th, an album that I played on with Tom Sless. It's called The California Dream. That's coming out, and that again is like Springsteen petty vibes and everything. So if you're into that, would love for you to check that out as well. So just doing my part to hype up my pals and stuff. So yeah, that's all the social media stuff, and then definitely highly recommend both records.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put one of those on while I'm or the Babers record. I'll put the Babers record on while I'm editing this podcast tonight. Oh,
you should. It's so good.
Hell yeah.
So good. And I can say that a little bit louder because I had no part in it because it was before I joined the band. So it's just like me being like a friend and a fan.
Fuck yeah.
And it's so good.
Fuck yeah. I think Babers was the group that we like first hung out.
Yeah, it was the hi-hat,
Yeah.
and what happened was I was talking very loudly during sound check about being nervous that I wasn't going to get into one of the Mandy Moore residency shows at the Bootleg
Uh-huh.
because you couldn't pre-buy tickets. You had to wait in line. And like as I was talking about it, you like walked past and like you kind of like looked up and like we made eye contact and I was like, he's got something to say about this. And I was like so prepared for you to be like judgy about it. And then you just came over and you were like, yeah, I was there last week. It was great. You just got to show up like within an hour of doors and you'll be fine. And I was like so not prepared for that to have been the reaction. And so that's how we became friends.
I didn't know that you thought I was going to be judgy about it. That sucks.
Well, I shouldn't have. Like I shouldn't have assumed that, but I was definitely braced for like, oh, this guy like has just written me off as like a friend, as like a musician, because I talked about Mandy Moore and I wasn't talking about like Rush or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
So I was hopeful that you'd be like have something positive to say, but I was also like ready to accept if you were like a jerk about it. But you weren't. You were great. I think I said multiple times, like, you just took a huge weight off my shoulders.
True.
Like, I cannot put into words how truly stressed over getting into the show I was, because it was the only one that I could make of the four.
Totally.
So I was like, I have to go to this one. And if I don't get in, like, that's my shot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It all worked out.
It all worked out, and now we're friends.
100%. Okay, so speaking of being friends,
Yes.
this podcast is called Will You Be My Friend?
Yes.
Because I feel like at my late 20s age of 28, I feel like it's a fairly lonely age.
I would agree.
And there are some times where like I'll be out at a show or something, like even with you, like I'll like connect with somebody, and there's a part of me that wants to pull them aside, and I feel like I'm in grade school again, like asking them like, do you want to be friends with me?
Yeah,
like,
I'm 100% the same way.
You know?
Yeah.
So I actually have a fair amount of these podcasts pre-recorded that I've done live here in my living room that I'm still editing. And when I do it live, I have a physical note that I pass to my guest.
That's so good.
As if we're like in class together.
I love that so much.
As a kid. So since I can't slide to you a physical note, I've made for you a virtual note.
I love this.
So I'm gonna share the whiteboard with you on Zoom right now. And this is the virtual note that I've written for you.
This is so precious. Will you please write this out for me and give it to me when all of this is said and done? So that
100%. 100%.
Actually write two so then you can keep one also.
Oh, that's very considerate of you. So yeah, so you can, for all of our listeners, feel free to read this note out loud.
Dear Eva, I like the way you play the drums and your love for Mandy Moore is inspiring. I hope that one day someone loves me as much as you love Mandy. That is so sweet. Anyways, wanna be friends?
So,
Absolutely.
There's a box for yes and a box for no. On Zoom, you can actually like open up the drawing app, like pencil thing.
Okay, wait, where am I?
You can mark which box you want to mark.
Okay, where is this?
Where think
is it view options? Oh, annotate. There we go. All right.
Hell yeah.
I got it. I think I got it.
Virtual world.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted this to be red, but that's fine.
Hell yeah. We're friends now.
I love it.
I mean, we were friends before, but now there's a virtual note and a virtual check mark.
Now we're both positive that we're really friends.
100%.
Now the icebreaker is all done.
Hell yeah! So let's end this podcast.
Let's do it.
We don't have to get off necessarily, but let's let's send off to the podcast world.
Sounds good.
Hey, see you later, internet world. It's been fun.
Bye.